a lot, Katerina. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to my webinar, broadcasting live from Mexico City. Today is Monday, January 13th, 2017, and yes, we're pretty much over the first month of this year, and yeah, it goes fast and really fast. This is me, myself, Alberto Alvarado. In any case, you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, feel free to do so. Go to YouTube and you type iiivb's Trading Room channel as it is here. This will show up my picture. You click subscribe. Go there, since the channel is getting active more and more every time. So feel free to subscribe there. Here we have some comments. Karina was throwing the question why everything was in Spanish. I just, this thing when I log in automatically switches to Spanish. So I forgot to change it to English. But well, the idea and the numbers, so hope there is no problem with the comprehension. Karina says, thanks God, 2017 trial month is trial month. The first 3-day free trial. So if I didn't like the first month, I can have my money back, my time back, my year back. Let me know to know where to demand that. I would like to thank everybody, all the guests, for being around. Rokastlu, welcome. Rokastlu. And well, let's hope more people join during the webinar. By the way, do you mind sharing maybe your name instead of calling you Rokastlu, or we stick it to Rokastlu in any case if you don't feel comfortable sharing your real name? Rokas. Welcome, Rokas. I've seen you here lately, and I would like to thank you for that. Well, today we're going to review why I didn't show up on Thursday, Friday, what happened to me. Yes, I am okay. The thing is that, as I stated in one of the blog posts in Dukascopy, I am suffering the Trump's jet lag trading syndrome. That means that I am trading extra hours. Let me show you that post. In any case, I can find it quickly because at times this gets really slow. Here it is. Here was the post. Trump's jet lag syndrome. The syndrome that demands you to trade extra flight trading hours. So that is the reason, basically. E2 stands for Lithuania. Okay. Yes, I was aware you were from Lithuania, but I didn't know your name was Rokas. Welcome. So, well, this is pretty much why I've been absent lately. It's been really hard to trade. I have taken some trades in my live accounts on Thursday and Friday, and it's been hell of a stress because of that. A lot of volatility. I've been taking some live trades in Mexican peso. As you can, we will evaluate that during this webinar. Some of the trades open in the trading contest. So based on those trades, in this case, Thursday and Friday, I in fact opened some trades in my live accounts. So those required me way more attention because of the volatility and the obvious Trump uncertainty factor that I don't need to tell you how the world is reacting to. I really don't know how to tag the way he's behaving, because I am even that I was not expecting any good. At least the only thing that I was expecting him to do for the world was to settle down some problems with Russia, things that he hasn't done so far, by the way. But he has managed to flip the boat, the international relationships, the foreign affairs, conflicts with China, etc. So I really don't know how to tag it as a cycle or something. If you're not aware, this guy started a ban to receive refugees and even tourists from Islamic countries. Some Islamic countries think that it's simply unacceptable. Apparently, he had to moderate that because of some reactions. I was saying in one of the webinars just after he's swearing in that I believe that the reaction overall in the Mexican peso bullishly during his very speech of inauguration was because 1 hour before, an important representative of the Senate that was Republican, I believe that the markets read his comments as maybe the resistance Donald Trump was going to find during his administration may come from the very Republican Party. And he has just received the first resistances from the very system, a judge ruling out these bannings of immigration. So yeah, this will be a very, very puzzle year. We really don't know what will be the end shape of this. Since Donald Trump is very volatile, he behaves like a spoiled child, even he's 70 years old, we really don't know what's next. Now he just something in the news saying that maybe the wall is that he wants stubbornly to build, that it's logistically impossible to build, by the way. He wants now that maybe drug cartels to pay for it. The only way to do that, it's two things: to legalize drugs, in fact legalize them and make the drug cartels to pay for that. Thing that I see it very difficult to happen, since he was very outspoken on the drugs and the effects on the American society. That is having drugs on the American society. And the other one is this latest acquisition of one of the drug pimps, El Chapo. His fortune is more or less calculated in $14,000 billion. Maybe he's flirting with that idea, since he's seeing that it's really, really difficult to make Mexico pay for that wall. It's almost impossible, unless the United States wanted to illegally occupy some part of Mexico as payment. But besides that, it's really difficult, because even taxing Mexican products would have a negative effect. I just saw a video some days ago of Walmart in the United States. Apparently the Mexicans there were organizing to boycott, I don't know for how many days, or if it was only one day, not the Hispanics not going to buy at that Walmart. I believe it was in Los Angeles. And this guy was filming the Walmart, and at least his narrative was that the Walmart, and he was showing the pictures, was empty. And in fact, it was empty. Of course, I don't know the details of this video, at what time it was filmed. He didn't say that, because it's maybe if you were too early or too late, you could find Walmart almost empty. But well, apparently people are organizing. He's facing a lot of resistance, not only from civilians, but now from a judge from the from one of the powers. I don't know. I just forgot how to say it in English. Is the Congress, the other one, the Supreme Court, and all that. And one judge is just showing the first resistances to his nonsense laws. And well, let's see what happens. I believe that the recent price action in Mexican peso is showing that the markets are ruling out already that he will have to moderate, unless he really wants to fight against even the own system, right? More or less part of his inaugurational speech was in that sense, appealing to the army, to the armed forces and police and the law enforcement people, the police. I believe, and I said that during the webinar because I said this as it was. I believe that he feels isolated already, and that is why he's even having a more aggressive speech, appealing to these law enforcement forces and to even try to gather the support of his critics. Of course, it's very difficult to get that support from the critics when you're doing exactly all these things and calling maybe the media the opposition. Of course, the media is not an opposition, it's part of a democracy, even if he doesn't want to accept it, even if there were fake news. Yes, there were fake news, and there are fake news everywhere, not only against him. It's against everybody. Here in Mexico, everywhere you will find gossip news and all that. And he is not exempt of that. But the most worrying thing is that the ultimate for this guy, the one that depends on the validity and who will, at the end, decide and judge if a news is for real or not, is him. And he needs to understand that in a democracy, that is not the way it works. Bottom line, I believe that Donald Trump represents a decadence, and his behavior is precisely showing that. And it's important that the forces inside the United States that are the only forces that could stop, or at least, to push this guy to moderate, are the forces inside the United States. We cannot do that. We cannot do anything outside, not even Mexico, for example. And the other way, it's a military. In any case, that maybe if you have noticed, Donald Trump stopped the bullying on China. And it's no surprise that he's now trying to focus all the, let's call it evilness, towards Mexico. And now that he's seeing that there's a lot of resistances, because there is no easy way to get that wall done without hurting the United States in some way or another. Now he just approved one bombing in Yemen. So what I believe is that he's doing this to create some kind of distraction, to maybe maneuver in a not in an as aggressive way as he would have wanted. This Mexican issue, the Chinese issue, maybe to create that distraction in the Islamic countries. This is a very controversial law of forbidding visitors from Iran, from Iraq, from basically Muslim. I believe that the real thing that he wants is to it's very tough not to say that he wants to declare war on the Islam. It's very difficult because these kind of laws point to that. But, well, I really hope that the other powers, the other two powers in the United States, if Donald Trump believes that this is the way you behave in a democracy, doing whatever you want, he's just about to receive a very painful lesson, that this is not the way it works. At least not in mature democracies. Maybe in some other kind of democracies it could be done, but well, the American democracy is one of the most evolved. It is way from perfect, but it's one of the most evolved democracies. So yeah, he's going to, I've been commenting this guy will have to learn how to really negotiate, because he really hasn't been in this negotiation thing. He believes negotiation is the only goods for him, and that's it. But negotiation in in politics, it's another thing. You have to give in something in exchange of something to actually make the other win also. But I believe that he's not used to that. And if you go to the books that he wrote, you can see that. The way he negotiates is toward really having 75% of the goods and leaving only 25% of the goods to others. In politics, overall foreign affairs, overall Russia and China, that approach won't work. So that's enough for Trump. I believe I'm not going to get in depth on all this nonsense thing this weekend, because I would say it would take me hours talking about that, and it's not the idea. I really want to get into trading, review the trades, review the positions, and to see if we can find any acceptable opportunity for the future. Well, how the trading contest is my performance. Here is me myself, iiivb. I'm currently in the 15th position with $581,000 in equity. Okay. Here are the overall rankings. I do believe that this is I just closed the trade some minutes ago, Mexican peso here in the contest, and I believe that's going to be the last trade for this contest, because I'm going to explain the logic. I opened a short trade on Friday. If you were not aware, Carlos Slim, that is the wealthiest man in Mexico, is the fourth or fifth richest man in the world after Bill Gates, Amancio Ortega from Spain. What's the other one? Warren Buffett. He's the fourth. Was precisely talking about Donald Trump, because here in Mexico we have the people is hell stressed. It's really fearful because we have historically wouldn't be the first time here. Even the idea of having maybe the United States occupying a part of Mexico as payment wouldn't be the first time in history that happened. So here in Mexico, the stress is so high, because imagine if that would be like being invaded by the superpower of the world. You cannot do anything at all. So that, and besides the domestic problems that we have inside this president that we have here, the increasing energy prices here in Mexico, it's a mess here. So it's a really, really delicate thing here. But well, let's go back to this. This are the overall positions. These two both are the Indian traders, and I am here in the 15th position. I have the same 4 blog posts liked by community support, and my overall points are 204. So yeah, I was really trying hard to get into the top 10. But in order to do that, I should have increased my equity by $800,000. I was expecting to have a bearish gap on United States dollar Mexican peso after Carlos Slim giving some declarations and press conference on Friday. My reading on that is that markets were expecting, after Donald Trump as a billionaire, he's more or less positioned in the 285 position, I believe. So when you have one of the first billionaires in the world talking about some stuff, business stuff, related to Trump, related to Mexico and American relationships, commercial relationships, etc., the investors listen. I mean, it's like if Warren Buffett says something, the people listen, just listen to them, to these kind of people. So, the bottom line, I believe that Carlos Slim, the message was the idea of him was to put Donald Trump into a position of check, as in a chess game, to really make him think his next move, because the narrative that Carlos Slim had during the press conference was very clear, that in any case Donald Trump continues with all this nonsense thing, eventually the worst hit in the mid and long term will be the United States. That is something that a lot of people have been saying, even Warren Buffett, that is the third richest man in the world. The problem with him is that he was politically biased for Hillary Clinton. So there was like a gap in, okay, let's believe, do we believe this guy or not? But the way that Carlos Slim was explaining all this was in an impassioned way, was very objective. So my reading was, the markets are going to really watch seriously how this border wall continue happening, or this NAFTA agreement renegotiations continue happening, whatever. So I said there are some possibilities of having a bullish gap on Mexican peso. In dollar Mexican peso, that would be a bearish gap this weekend when this today opened. We didn't have that. My trade ended up being correct, more or less almost 500 Mexican pips. That is more or less, let me tell you. Well, I'm going to show the trade in some minutes. So, well, here I'm in the 15th position. I see it very difficult to really increase the account in that amount, or to, I don't know. So it would require me a lot of risk just to get maybe the top 10. So I believe that this was the last trade for this competition. So unless I have somebody outperforming me, maybe I would end in the 16th, 17th position. I believe I didn't say this because this would sound very, very strange, but if you review, I started trading this contest by the second week of January. I didn't start trading this the first week. Since the first day, no, I didn't. I started like the second week. So second or yes, was the second or third? I don't know, I don't remember. So yeah, I feel very happy about the performance. I really don't know if I had started from the very beginning, if I had a more blog post light, or maybe my equity would be higher. I don't know. It's not that linear. But well, I believe that for the performance, for the trades that I've done, for the assets that I chose, it's a very good performance. Here my equity cure. As you can see, it's been stable. Here I had a topping up. It retraced, but well, I managed to just keep it here. Again, maximum drawdown 54%, that is this. My demo subscribers now are 21, and my performance is 482% in profitability this month. And by the way, I want to show you something. This the ultimate goal for me, as you remember, for the competition is the Grand Prix thing. That is the 6-month and 12-month performance. Month. And this is the 12th month. That is why I'm also considering just quitting trading this competition, at least now. I'm going to close this. This is a monthly. This is what put me in the 15th position. I honestly believe I will stay there. Here is my 6-month performance that I've been saying that unfortunately, for having 63% of drawdown on the 6 month, I won't be showing up in the Grand Prix thing, since you need to keep this lower than 60%. But in the 6-month reference, I already have 71% of profit. This is the equity curve. On the 1 year, this is the one that really interested me fixing it. As you can see, my average drawdown 75%. So honestly, I believe that not in less than 6 months, maybe in the 1 year, I could be found in the Grand Prix competition. But the first thing to fix was this, okay? To come from the negative that I was, because of course I was not taking seriously the competition. And well, this month that my approach changed. I started the year wanting to do things differently. And well, now I am already in profit, 4% in profit, okay? So I believe it's a very good result, because I managed to fix the things that they really matter the most for me, the 6-month and the 12-month. And it's very good to know that worth me the 15th place so far, so it's good. Quickly to the statistics, these have changed. Now my average pip point gain are 978. My most profitable trade is in the equivalent of 224 euro-dollar pip. This was a Mexican peso trade. And well, here you cannot see it because it's in Spanish, but here is the average pip point loss in position. No, I mean, this is the positive one, 78, and in negative pip point is 53. So again, very close to the 1.5 to 1 reward risk. Nothing fancy, nothing spectacular. Here the 100% that it's always closing trades unconditional, not on market orders. And the ratio of win-losing is 61%. So yeah, it can be done. Thank you, Katerina. Yes, but the 43, I believe those are in the ones that I have had during the last year. But in this very month are only 21. So I hope that those 21, since I will close profitably this month, those will keep their subscription to my account, and maybe the next month I could add up maybe another 20. So that would be very cool. But thanks a lot, Katerina, for the congrats. I want to close this. Now we're getting into the real interesting stuff, that is analyzing the trades. I believe that the latest thing that we talked about was trade in Mexican peso. Let me see. Euro GBP, I believe it was also. So let me see. It was on 26th. I don't know if we check this trade. I believe it's this one. Let me. I really don't remember. But, let me take a screenshot. And this latest one. Okay, why I show you this? Because it's important that let me take current situation in the Mexican peso. First of all, it's because yes, this is not showing off the results. The results by themselves are really not important, because anybody can have that, could be lucky and get into the 15th position at some time. If you really manage to get into a really good trade, you could get lucky. Okay, the thing is that you find consistency between what I say here and how I trade, and the results. The way I've been saying that being a trader is how you understand reality, right? It's not a bunch of technical stuff or fundamental stuff. It's what you do with them and how you put that into glasses to read the reality. So here, it's only I'm only doing this for the sake of proving that you can actually learn something here, to adapt it to your own goals, personality, intelligence, talents, skills, and actually you can learn something. This is not only blah blah because I just want to feel important. This was a trade. I don't know. The last time I was talking about this, I believe it was profitable or not. I really don't remember. This was I didn't broadcast in 26. So yeah, the trade was open here, and all these 2 days I didn't broadcast. Okay, so we got to resistance here. At the moment, why I open a long trade? I was planning to open a long trade at 20.8. But for the instability in the markets overall, some Donald Trump stuff saying the Mexican president canceled, or apparently at that moment canceled the meeting this week with Donald Trump. Apparently that meeting is still up. I really don't know. But at least at that moment, the idea was that this president canceled the meeting because of all these things on the border and comments on Mexicans by Donald Trump, etc. So the president decided to cancel it as a diplomatic retaliation, thing that it's pretty much normal. If you remember when Duterte, that is the president of the Philippines, said that Obama was a SOAB, the president canceled the meeting, that they were going to meet after some days. So this is like a normal retaliation, diplomatic retaliation, when something of this thing happens. So I remember that for the price action, etc., I decided to open a long trade here. As you can see, we had immediate reaction to the upside, then retesting, and then here there was I believe it was in the 30-minute chart, we have a descending triangle configuration. So at this moment, I think, okay, I was expecting a bullish entry at 28. I made that switch in my bias for the adapting to the latest situation. So when this first resistance was touched, I was not wanting to continue holding that position because for weeks before, I detected the 20.8 as the real bullish trading opportunity, okay? So when this resistance was hit, I put my trade at pretty much break even. So the market continued moving down. That is why I closed it in a positive 130 pip. That is more or less in let me see, in euro dollar pip, that would be like 6 pip. Okay, 6 something. Why? Never ever get married to a position. I've been saying that during tons of webinars. Don't get greedy. If I had gotten greedy on this, I would have to close this trade in a very, very negative position, because now the market, as you can see, is in the 20.9. And this happened in the 20, we would be here, okay? So I would be all these days in negative. But we need to understand, as I've been saying during all my webinars, the reasoning behind opening or closing a trade is what matters. That is why relying only on signal services, it's a wrong idea. Signal services are not anything else than technical indicators are tools. There are actually some very good signal services, but the idea that you need to learn how to read and to know the context of the trade, to really have your own opinions on the trade, to know whether to, at the first resistance, put the trade on break even or not. Here in the Mexican peso was a very hard thing to play, because when I switched my bias, instead of waiting for the 1.28, the 20.8 level to entry bullishly, I switched it to open it, as you can see here, at 21.13. As you can see, the market gave me reason from the very beginning, retested this level of entry. So I was not only entering on desperation, okay? I really waited for things to align, and you can see the initial reaction. But here, when we touched that resistance, I was expecting that at this time the market should be like in here. So that's why I said, okay, just as a safety procedure, I will just put a break even. Okay. Why? Because firstly, my initial entry long price was 20.8. I changed that because of the current situation at that moment, and only for that. So if things didn't go exactly as I expected, I mean, if you changed your entry price to adapt to new circumstances, at least what you expect is a really quick validation of that trade. This didn't happen. So I immediately, at the first significant resistance, I switched my take profit. I reduced my stop loss at break even. Okay. So this is understanding the logic. If you have received this signal and you were not following how the market has been behaving at that moment in Mexican peso, maybe you would have let the trade run instead of putting at this very resistance. Maybe to let the stop loss where it was originally. And then you would have seen the market go against you. You need to picture a price action in your head. And my idea is that if my trade was responding to panic again, immediately the market should have been continuously going up and up. And that didn't happen. I had the chance of taking profit here, yes. But the thing is that since I was expecting, again, that this trade should reflect maybe some kind of panic again, this was the only entry opportunity that I will have for a lot of days. So that is why I decided not to close the trade here. So again, understanding the context is very important. That will shape your ending profit or losses. I just remembered that I didn't explain a trade of a weekend. Let me show you. What was this one? This was very interesting, and this is very important. Okay. It was one of the trades that I opened during the trading competition. I'm going to tell you something here. I shorted here, and my initial take profit target was exactly this 21. Okay. So you would have said, okay, why then you closed it here? You would have hit the home run. Well, that's precisely. We need to be consistent with this. I'm going to be honest with you. When I see this trade going exactly at the ultimate take profit target, even after 11 years of trading, these kind of things really, oh my God, I should have waited more. But the other thing is that during 11 years, I've seen that more than 90% of these kind of scenarios end up retracing at the first acceptable support or resistance. The problem with Dukascopy competition is that you cannot close, let's say, half of a position at some level. You need to close it completely or to let it run completely. Under 85–90% of the scenarios, taking profit here This was the first take profit target that I had. So at this moment, I had, okay, I can wait. For example, here, I'm not going to show that picture because it's in the blog. I shorted here, and I took profit here in the past. Okay. So yeah, I could have thought here that maybe the market could have continued moving down. That was not the case. It retraced even above my entry price. So if I had applied that greedy logic in this trade, I would have regretted, because maybe I would have closed it here in a loss. So you need to be consistent, not to be fooled by maybe the only super home run that you would have taken. You need to see the statistics. When you trade for long enough, you realize that the first acceptable take profit target usually is the first and the last. 90% of the times, because 80% of the times the markets are ranging. And you really don't know where that home run, that initial trend is going to start. During other webinars, overall after Brexit, we managed to open some combo of trades, and we managed them in the webinar. I was explaining them. Let's go long on cable, and now we got to this price, so let's start scaling out half of your positions, put the rest in break even, let the rest run, and some of them worked, some of them didn't. Some of them were close to completely at the first take profit target, and the other at break even. So it depended on a lot of factors. Here is the same thing. If the trading competition had allowed partial closing, I would have closed a trade, half of the position here or 3/4, and let the rest run at break even, and then I would have had my maximum take profit target at 21 hit. This would have been a home run. This would have put me in 8th, 7th position in the competition. But this is the thing. This is greed. If you manage and you apply this kind of ideas in your everyday trading, you're doomed. Because only 1 in 100 trades are going to behave exactly this, because this is an overextended swing movement. This is not usual. And in the same way, this could have happened, the price would have gone even higher here, like it happened here. At this moment, my take profit target was again 21. Because of the price action, I closed it here. And then when I checked it out, it has retraced. So what could have happened if I didn't close here? Maybe it would have retraced here. You need to think that way. You need to think in the risk, not the profit. The risk here was a potential reversal because it was a decent support, like the one here, right? You adapt to that, not to the potential maximum take profit target. Because if you apply all this logic in every trade, if you're good, you're going to close 80% of your positions at break even. So the right way to manage this kind of stuff is, yes, you close 3/4, half of your positions here, put the rest at break even. If it hits the home run, well for you. If you rely on trend trading, this is the way to go. You need to let your trades run. 3/4 of your initial position, half of your initial positions. If you are like trading my style, you can even forget about home runs, because I trade 80% of the times that the markets are not trending. If you're a trend trader, you're only trading 20% of the times. So this is a must. You need that. If you're trend trading, you don't have any other. When you're a trend trader, you're buying a ticket to the next home run, but in the same way. That's good to know, Katarina. Thanks for the heads up. Oh yeah, it's almost the hour. Okay, and we have still some things to review, so thanks. I will maybe extend like 20 minutes more. So, well, the idea is that if you were at, there is some misleading information in some forums. When you start trading, and I did that when I started trading. I tend to believe that the trend trading was the only way to go. Actually, when I have in a very small account several years ago my first 1,000% in profits, that I lost eventually everything, by the way, it was trend trading. So of course you can imagine that I was like married to the idea that the only way to go was trend trading. But exactly seeing my account evaporate from $200 to $2,000 and then to having a margin call led me to start rethinking about how trend trading works. After several years, my conclusions are, if you're going to trade, to be a trend trader, because yes, maybe it's your style, it fits your personality or your bank or your trading account size. If you're trading 20% of the times, you need to buy tickets for those home runs, but reduce your risk at the first acceptable take profit target, resistance, support, whatever, like in here. If you were a trend trader, this would have been one good trade these kind of trades are the one that usually compensate that you're not trading 80% of the times, right? But even I don't consider myself trend trader, but I mix both styles, the short and long. The way I manage it, I not because I'm not a trend trader, I disregard or I discard these kind of opportunities. In my live account, if I had traded that in my live account, I didn't. I would have here closed like 3/4 or even more. Maybe, I don't know, 4/5 of my position here because of the inherent volatility risk, and just let the rest run. And I need to be honest, when I saw this happening, I said like, but that's something I have to learn with. There are times that bad or good emotions will continue hitting you every time, even if you are a seasoned trader, even if you are a profitable one. In my case, it's like, and you're like blaming yourself, etc. But I have learned to deal with that. But usually when you start dealing with that, you want a revenge trade. You said, okay, then let's go to the next. Maybe, I don't know, this will continue moving down. You wait for the retracements, you short here, then you hit this resistance, and you say, no, this will get lower. But unconsciously, you're having a revenge trade. And then just to see exactly this. This is what usually happens. You have the market retesting a significant support, retracing. That's what happened here. Significant support, retracing. Here we haven't had a spectacular movement after this. Okay, so the market's stabilizing. The psychology of trading is learning. You need to learn your weak points as a trader. And even after several years of trading, I still have this kind of vices. When I see this, and I was not in a trade, I was not in a live trade, so I didn't regret that. I was not even touching my live trades there. But here in the competition, I had like, I would be now at 8th position, etc. But you need to master that. It's normal. Because of course it's normal to be wanting to be a winner. Overall, if you were in the right side of the trade, but understanding the way to manage this is to go to your statistics, to the price action statistics, saying yes, but 80% or more of the times this swing would have stopped here, like it happened here, like it happened here. And if you check, 80% of the times that happens, it stops there, and then it retraces. So that's just to focus on that. Play it rationally, not being greedy. If you're a trend trader, you need to bet for the home runs. But that doesn't mean that you don't do any kind of money management, closing partial positions. It's important that you develop that habit. Trend trader or not, the first acceptable support, etc., you need to take partial profits. and that is a signal to put your trades or break even, or at least reduce your stop loss at half. Maybe you don't want to because of the market conditions, and you said, no, if I put it in break even, maybe I would be stopped out just to see the market continue going in my direction. Okay, let's consider that scenario. At least when the first take profit target gets, either you put the rest at break even or you adjust your stop loss to risk at least the profits that you just harvest. To at least say, okay, I lost the partial profits I took, not the part of my, let's put it, my basic or my initial account size. Okay, it's those are losses, because losing partial profits, that doesn't mean that you're not losing something. You're of course losing a profit, but psychologically maybe it would help you to know, okay, in this partial trade I won 50 pip, and at that moment I took half of my positions and the other half I reduced my stop loss to 50 pips. So you know that understanding your trade in that way, you would close it at break even. Okay, so it's just a matter that you develop at the first resistance, first take profit target that you have, you adjust. In what way? The way that it fits your trading style, the market condition, but you adjust. You don't get greedy in, okay, the first take profit target was hit, so I will keep my 200 pip of stop loss. No, you adjust it. You enjoy part of the glory of being in the right side of your trade. That is pretty difficult, so enjoy it, at least half of your position. And just to close this idea, every time that you hit a home run, maybe that you're not in the trade, remember that 80% of the times the markets do this. They retest support, like here, and retrace. Retest support and retrace. It works in the same way as with resistances. So yeah, the 80% of the times these would have retraced, period. So that is why here you adjust risk. Let's, I believe, here is the one. Here is the latest one. Okay, this was a very risky trade. I need to tell you this. I'm going to tell you something. At this moment, the market didn't get to the 2080. Okay. At this moment of this short trade, I have a bullish position limit order at the 20.8. But then Carlos Slim showed up in the news, all the things he said. I tried to figure out the comprehension the market will give during the weekend and overall what Donald Trump was going forced to do after Carlos Slim saying something, because the markets, regarding to listening to a successful billionaire, they would listen way more Carlos Slim than Donald Trump, because Donald Trump is in the 200-something position in Forbes, and Carlos Slim wealth is 10 times the one that Donald Trump has. So in this matter, the markets tend to listen way more the richest one, not the weakest one. So I was considering that after this press conference, Donald Trump, the markets were going to listen very carefully what Donald Trump was going to say after this press conference, to maybe bet bearishly on the dollar if maybe Donald Trump continued stubbornly with the same linear idea on how he wants to manage the economy. So I said, okay, if Donald Trump continues with the nonsense, the most likely thing in I had this idea, is that we're going to have a bearish gap on dollar Mexican peso up to the 19.5. Okay, that is what I believe, that the markets were going to punish Donald Trump if he continued with this nonsense approach. Okay, because yes, it is gradually more and it's clearer and clearer that even if Donald Trump and most Americans don't want to accept it, yes, it's been for so long, the NAFTA, running for so long so far, and we're so integrated that, yeah, even the United States would be badly hit by canceling NAFTA all of a sudden, even if he doesn't want to accept it. So yeah, I said, okay, if Donald Trump does this, the markets will punish the dollar. So yes, at this very moment, I decided to take the short trade. Okay, but here initially I had a bullish position because it was the most natural one. But I adapted to this thing. Of course, when I was considering a long trade here, there was no Carlos Slim press conference in the cards. Okay, so I decided to short it. The market opened. Okay. Here, but I was wanting to wait to see if before the webinar this trade was below 28. It wasn't, so I decided to close it here. And well, you see the immediate reaction. I decided to close it just at the moment it retested here. The same logic. Here, I knew the inherent risks of keeping this trade open during the weekend. Yes, I could have a huge gap against me. Yes, I decided to run the risk because I was very confident on my reading on Carlos Slim press conference that it was going to, the harder Donald Trump wanted to resist this, the harder the dollar will be hit. That is why I decided to keep this trade open during the weekend. But the same thing, if you ask me, this trade had the potential to continue going down, yes. But I decided to close it here because it was a support. And by the way, it's very close to the 28. So even though we're not getting to the what I expect is the major support here, this is the 28, it is retesting this low. Since this competition won't allow me to close partial positions, I take all the positions out. If this has been a live trade, that this specific trade, I didn't keep this trade open during the weekend in my live account, I would have closed here half of the positions. And as you can see, the other should have been closed at this moment at break even, or so. Yes, it would have been closed already at break even. This is clear where exactly I closed it. You see here my short trade. Here is this red arrow. And up to here. Do you see? Exactly the moment it retested clearly this and this. This is the, what time frame is this? The 1 hour. Yeah. The 1 hour. Close it here. You see? You don't need to be a genius to know this, okay? Because when you see this, oh my God, I closed it just at the moment the market, it's like you need a crystal ball. No. You simply understand that being an accurate trader is not being greedy. It's adjusting positions at support and resistances. And since, as you can see here, it was very close to the support. This is not recommended for newbie traders, okay? But in this case, and as I am explaining, it was this Carlos Slim press conference that made me switch my mind. So it was almost a 1 hour press conference. So until he finished the press conference, I started thinking, okay, what Donald Trump will be thinking? I tried to put myself inside this guy's mind. And the markets. What are going to do the markets with this? What the markets will start thinking after this? So I was again trying to find the mistake on my short trade, potential short trade. and I didn't find very important mistakes. So I said, okay, let's risk it. Again, only in demo. In live, I didn't risk it because the same thing. A huge gap against me in Mexican peso, well, it could be huge. In any case, I read it wrong, and I'm not going to risk my live account. But in this case, during Thursday and Friday, in my live accounts, I opened several trades in Mexican peso, shorter term trades, but not on Friday. I didn't let any trades open on Friday. Here it says, crystal ball is my kind of FX prediction nowadays. There are people that use, I don't know, shells. That's a ritual of a religion, I believe. It's a Yoruba religion or something. They use it to to predict the market direction. I wish that works, at least for me, because that would allow me way more time to do some other stuff. But it doesn't work for me. So, but yeah, it would be very nice to have a crystal ball. The risks would be zero. So I believe it's time to call it a webinar. Just let me see. Let's take a picture of this. How I know, even though I didn't have at all, I mean, knowing that I closed 500 pips, this trade was, by the way, how many pips? This latest trade is 466 in the positive. In the let me tell you, it is more or less an equivalent of euro dollar pip, 22 pip. So it's a decent one, but by no means this really reflects the risks I was running during the weekend. So this is in my idea, it was a very bad trade. Not because of having a 22 pip profitable trade is a wrong idea, but for the risks I was running and the result I was eventually expecting for this trade to have after the weekend, this is a very bad trade. I mean, the risks versus the rewards, even if you don't see them, because it was actually barely in the red, this trade. It was, I don't know, maybe some minutes in red. So that would maybe signal it was a great trade. No, this was a very bad one for the risks. But the only thing that made me feel happy about this trade is because, yeah, even though it was not reflected in the way I wanted in the Mexican peso, we in fact have, after this guy's news conference, and I believe that the market reaction for having dollar weakness across the board at the opening of this Monday is mostly due to Carlos Slim press conference on Friday. Even though it was not reflected the way I wanted in Mexican peso, it was reflected in other assets. Let's quickly review that. Well, this is the Mexican peso. Nothing to explain further. Close the trade here at supports. The market did what it usually does. One, two, three, 1, 2, 3. I lost sound. Do we have sound? 2, 3. Well, my initial approach after Carlos Slim was I was expecting dollar weakness in Mexican peso. It didn't happen in Mexican peso, but it did happen in the majors. This is a euro bullish gap after weekend. So yeah, my reading was right. Maybe not reflected in the asset I was expecting. Yeah. So yes, we had a bullish, not very significant. Retested again this height, made some pips above it, and then it decided to close the gap. Again, the gap is not it's not necessarily immediately closed. It could happen hours or even days or even months. Remember that the cable weekend after Brexit gap hasn't been closed at 137. So never ever, just because you have a weekend gap in bullish or bearish, bet that gap is going to be closed immediately. That is not necessarily happening. It happens 80% of the times, but the other 20%, it can be closed after hours, days, weeks, months, years. So you need to, if you like to trade the gaps, you need to consider all this. Okay. As you can see, the market went against. If you decided to open a short trade here, betting for the gap to close, it would have been the risk of 1 and pretty much the reward of 1 to 1. So this people tend to believe that the gaps are 90% for sure, and that is not true. I have been showing the last year several examples of that. So okay, we in fact have initial dollar weakness in euro dollar, and the one I liked the most is the Japanese yen one. Here you can see the exact thing I was saying. In the dollar, in the euro dollar, the gap is already closed 2 hours before. But look at the gap, the dollar weakness gap in dollar yen. We have this, and by the way, here it is not visible now, but at the moment the market started, we have a, where was it? Show you the post because it is important. And I chose this because it was very good looking. And with this, I will close the webinar. Here it is. Okay, there you go. Here's the dollar yen. I posted this in the traders blog just 1 hour after having the markets open. The dollar yen 1 hour outlook. At that moment, we had this ascending triangle. Okay. This is the 1 hour chart. As you can see, we had this breakout to the downside. This was very eye-catching. That is why I chose this for the blog post. Yeah, for the ones that decide and like to trade the Asian session, this post was targeted to those people. As you can see, this gap hasn't been closed, but it has a chart is recent. We have the market breaking. So when you have this kind of things happening, closing the gap usually gets tougher, because at the moment you can close the gap, you need to wait this to get higher and higher. So it gets tougher to have this kind of movements. And by the way, just look at where this triangle meets these two lines here. So we could be considering maybe that we are against the clock on closing this gap. In any case, that maybe we don't have the gap being closed when this at this moment in time. Maybe we could have even more risks to the downside, but we need to analyze in lower time frames that. I'm going to read you the description because it's important that when we open a trade, we more or less have this basic technical stuff in our mind. First of all, I check this, the dollar, I confirm dollar weakness across the board, except in Mexican peso, but across the board there was an initial weakness on dollar. Here it says dollar weakness across the board at weekend opening. For issue on session, the likeliest opportunity for obvious reason is the dollar yen, as shown in the chart. In the 1 hour chart, that is this one, this ascending triangle has been broken to the downside on this week's opening, pointing out opportunities. The overall daily sentiment is a no man's land direction. If you go to the daily chart, you see that it's like no man's land. It's no clear direction, but that doesn't mean that you cannot find opportunities here, okay? But you always check your dailies to check the day, let's say the overall sentiment, and that shapes your trade. When you see it's no man's land, well, that gives you the idea that maybe you have to be careful on your take profit targets, not being very greedy. That gives you a sense of, okay, if I'm going to harvest profit, more or less how many pips, or put my stop loss, maybe using a 200 pips stop loss is way too much. The volatility won't justify that. Okay, the overall daily sentiment is no man's land direction, although some texts indicate the momentum is shrinking, signaling a potential new opportunity could be in course. This is like the Bollinger Bands. The tighter they get, when they start shrinking the Bollinger Bands, that means volatility is slowing down. And usually when that happens, that could point out that the next wave of volatility is next. So when you read the overall sentiment, in this case, firstly the daily sentiment, even if it's not specifically in the Bollinger Bands, you can expect that. That is not necessarily what is going to happen, but you need to strategically start thinking that, okay, when volatility shrinks, at some point that will increase. And the highest point of that happening is when the volatility is shrinking. Okay. Here it says, the 4-hour bullish momentum, if you analyze, I've been saying that 4 hours is a very important one, you know it already. You say, okay, the overall sentiment in dailies is like in no man's land. In the 4 hour, the sentiment and a lot of technicals were very bullish, but the 1 hour was facing a neutral sentiment, basically because of this. When you have these things happening in this case a triangle that looks very eye candy, as you can see, we have several points of retest. This one, of course this zone is not important now. This one, and this one being clearly broken, this is very eye-catching. So when you go to the dailies, at the moment the market opened, even if it was kind of very bullish, in the text, if you go to the 1 hour, you started seeing some divergences while the market was doing this. When you have this movement to the downside, the breakout on these conditions, after Carlos Slim press conference, I believe this is the effect of having dollar weakness. Okay, then you can say, okay, the divergences that we have here in the 1 hour chart are indication of being neutral, the 1 hour. So the 4 hour bullish momentum is confronting the 1 hour neutral sentiment due to this weekly opening gap. But in addition, we are seeing 30-minute selling sentiment in course. Of course, the 30 minutes, since it's shorter, after having this thing opening to the downside, it was clear in the 30 minutes we had bearish momentum. So when this happens overall on a weekend, after a weekend, whether you decide to trade it or not, I just decide to say, okay, according to the daily sentiment, to the 4 hour bullish momentum, 1 hour neutral one, and 30-minute bearish one, where are the key prices to watch? whether you wanted to trade it bullishly or bearishly. The upside was 115.25. That is pretty much here. As you can see, is the previous swing high. Should be watched as a major intraday resistance, but to the downside, the 114 psychological level may play a major support role. Here it is. Okay. Why? This is one of the bases of this triangle. It's just more or less, it's close to the 114. So we're not overextending a greedy sentiment. We try when the logic is every time, and in this case in particular, is okay, let's try to find a tradable range. Okay, the tradable range I detected was this. The 115.25 and the 114. So I was expecting the movement should prevail in this zone. And this is what happened. We didn't get to the 114. It made a support here. But well, this is the overall idea of the logic. So I'm going to close this and read. I have a question here. Sharp Sense, welcome. How do you stand for the president of Mexico? His popularity rating is not very high. Actually, it's one of the lowest in history. He's being, since the very beginning of his administration, he has been signaled with corruption cases. He had a house built by one of the contractors when he was the governor of one of the states of Mexico. Mexico State is called. Coincidentally, one of the contractors built him a house. Think that in a decent and evolved democracy would have put the president in trial, but here no. Here the president decided to name one of his employees to judge him if there was a conflict of interest in that house. And guess what happened? The employee said that his boss was not guilty. But well, this is a ridiculous corruption cases here in Mexico. We have an governor of one of the biggest states in Mexico that it's being searched by police for the latest 4 months. He ran away from justice after stealing in almost 4 years $14 billion. Okay, this is the amount of corruption that happens in Mexico, and this is not the only case. But the problem is that this guy was very close to the president. They were like friends, and at a moment when this guy started being president of Mexico, he named this guy, that is named Javier Duarte, as one of the examples of the new kind of administrations that we can expect. And besides, a month ago, at the beginning of this month, we have, in an unexcusable manner, increasing the prices of the gasoline here. Imagine, we are an oil producer and we import 75% of the gasoline. So it's a mess here. So this guy is really, even after Donald Trump's issue, that would maybe people follow this kind of leader. His leadership is so badly hit that not even this, maybe the popularity is a little bit higher now, but a little bit. People here are really angry at him. We have these latest 4 years, this drug war that we're engaged. We had 2-3 years ago 43 students killed by police, apparently in working together with drug cartels. They just disappeared, these guys. Supposedly they found, they burnt all the bodies in a junkyard. So it's here you can imagine. I know that you live in Zurich. So this kind of things are for the Swiss people. This kind of stuff is really only in terror movies. Here, really, it's amazing the amount of people that you find dismembered in the streets in Acapulco. That it's a major tourist site. So yeah, it's a nightmare here. We're not at the levels maybe of some other countries, but we're towards that. So the popularity of this president, of course, you cannot have a high popularity when you have these such problems. And besides, when this president decided to invite Donald Trump while he was running for the presidency, he has this brilliant idea of inviting this guy and receiving him like if he was already the president of the United States. And this was a huge mistake. Everybody was pointing that out. He was stubbornly denying that, and here are the results. Of course, it was a mistake. This guy smelled the fear, and now Donald Trump is leveraging on that because he knows that this administration is fearful. And this guy likes to smash when he feels weakness. Okay. So yeah, most part of Mexicans, I can tell you that the last time I checked, 75% of people reject his administration. I don't know, maybe after Trump's pseudo leadership, it should be like 70%. So it's a very low popularity rate. In Latin America, it's much more drug crimes, I guess. Yes, overall for Central America and Mexico. Overall, Mexico, the problem we have is that the heroin that, well, the United States has a very delicate and sad addiction problem. And heroin has the highest of the natural drugs addiction rate. And the most part of the heroin came from Afghanistan, but it came cheaper to produce it in Mexico. So the drug cartels are using the tropical zones in Mexico, like Acapulco. That's becoming, I don't know. I don't know how even people continue traveling there for being in the beach in Acapulco, because they have a very good weather there to precisely, and a corruption level that precisely allow drug cartels to produce heroin with this plant, and then make the heroin and then export it to the United States. So it has become a really delicate thing in Mexico, because I mean, we're at the south of the border, and the demand is so huge, and it's higher every time the United States for this kind of stuff, and these guys are willing to do whatever it takes to cover the demand, since it's of course way more expensive to import it from Afghanistan. It says his attitude towards Trump is still quite open. At least he is open for talk. Yeah, and in my opinion, it's very sad. I mean, the attitude from Mexico, from this stupid president, it's way passive. He should have started getting closer to China since the very speech when Donald Trump was running for presidency, just for strategic reasons. But he just, I don't know, maybe waiting for, I mean, this is a clown. This guy is a clown. This guy is part of this problem. The Mexican president, when he received Donald Trump, I mean, you don't receive in your territory somebody that is saying that Mexicans are rapists, saying that textually, Mexicans are rapists. I mean, this is a stupid generalization. And when you're running for a presidency of the United States, you should watch your mouth. And you receive it with all the honors that a president of any country deserves. Actually, people said that this thing that happened in Mexico, because just after being here with the Mexican president, hours after, he had a meeting in Arizona. The first thing this guy said after meeting the Mexican president was, the Mexican president, it's a great people. It's a great person. Mexicans are great people, but they will pay for the wall. They don't know it yet, but they will pay for the wall. Donald Trump used this meeting as leverage for his campaign. And in my opinion, this meeting actually helped Donald Trump to win. Because for his voters, this was a signal of strength for Donald Trump. So, having still this attitude to talk, for me, it's passive. For me, the only language that Donald Trump understands, I would have liked to see Donald Trump's reaction if this president would have taken action before getting into the presidency and getting closer to China or even Russia, because Russia is not a friend of the United States. Russia has interests, same as the United States. But for some reason, this guy is a coward. And in the other hand, the latest 30 years, all the administrations bet for complete dependency on the United States economy. So it's really hard to move without hurting badly the Mexican economy, because we depend so much. Of course, the United States is integrated to the Mexican economy, and it's not a slow dependency, but comparing to the commerce that Mexico has is 85% only with the United States. So yeah, it is like, even if you want to do something different, you need to be sure that the relationship is completely lost, maybe to start moving abroad. But so far, and I'm going to tell you something, I'm being afraid that maybe Donald Trump craziness would occupy some part of Mexico as part of the wall payment. And up to now, people are starting in the media commenting that fear, that potential risk that looks surreal, but yes, it is real. At some point it's real. How come a person like Donald Trump wouldn't think about that? Okay? So, why in the hell he hasn't approached to China's proposals of getting closer to China? Because it's very different. When you have Chinese interest in Mexico, it's different to try to invade a country. What was one of the excuses of Putin annexing Crimea? We have Russian interest there. Besides, we have a lot of Russians living there. When you have interest in a land, it's way more difficult that somebody just could invade it. What happened in Syria? The United States wanted to invade it to simply impose a rule, but guess what? There are a lot of Russian interest in Syria, military and economic. What happened? Russia showed up and said, wait a minute. So this is the idea of playing the cards differently, but this guy is a coward. This president is not precisely the smartest one we have had. Is one of the most ignorant one. When he was asked what, before getting into the presidency, what were the books that were the most emblematic for him, he didn't know what to answer. Because he doesn't read. He's ignorant. So that is why the way he has managed a lot of stuff, and besides corrupt, that explains a lot why this attitude, passive attitude against Donald Trump. I mean, at least in the speech, Donald Trump has been showing that he's the enemy of Mexico in the speech. The latest actions he has taken, well, are more or less showing that. He's not showing any kind of willingness of treating Mexico with respect. So yeah, and now the risks and analysts are saying that yes, eventually if this wall thing still is in his mind, he would even consider occupying a part of Mexico as payment. Why not? These things have been done in history endless times. Justifying an invasion, an exchange of payment. Do you remember the first Gulf War? Iraq invading Kuwait. First excuse was Kuwait was part of Iraq long ago. And the Iraqi government at that time argued that I don't know what kind of debt Kuwait had with Iraq, whatever. So yeah, here it says, sorry, back to the market. Why is not much correlation between oil and Mexican peso? Well, it has been broken since Donald Trump was running for presidency because the market has been reflecting Trump's fear and Trump's uncertainty factor. Pretty much that. And as long as the markets feel that Donald Trump risks are away from being at least stabilized, we could not wait to see Mexican peso correlation with oil. Besides, and as I said some minutes ago, even the Mexican economy, it's an oil producer. The first derivative of oil that is necessary for this country, that is gasoline, it's imported. So when you see that, you say, okay, you export and you produce oil, but you import 75% of gasoline. That puts you actually in a position like if you were not an oil producer. That is why the correlation stopped happening, in my opinion, way before. Besides, the Mexican administration has been playing this last year, increasing the rates, the interest rates, in a gambling manner, to precisely trying to avoid the Mexican peso to devaluate even further. And those are distortions in the market. So that is why you don't see pretty much a lot of correlation. And I believe that it won't happen for at least 1 year to see, okay, that correlation kind of back. I don't see it happening before a year. How is the correlation between gas and Mexican peso? Well, I'm not aware of that. I'm not following energy. Of course, I only follow more or less oil, but since, again, the income of Mexico by another thing, the production of oil in Mexico has dropped like 30% in the last 4 years. So yeah, besides is less income by oil because of the prices, we have less production. So that is why the correlation is broken. And well, the gas, I really don't know the correlation, but I will check it out for you tomorrow if you want, and I will give you an insight there. Sharp sense, but is there a real fear in Mexico that US could invade Mexico? I heard of this the first time. Is this your own conclusion? I was fearful of this since the very beginning. When he started talking about the wall, I said there's simply no way that Mexico will voluntarily pay for that wall, period. There is no way. Mexico won't say, yes, we will pay for your wall. No, that is nonsense. It's like asking the Palestinians to pay for the Israeli border. No, that won't happen. And since I believe that this guy is mentally unstable, a racist, yeah, more than half of the Mexican territory has been stolen by the United States. If you go to the maps of Mexico, half of the territories were stolen by the United States, taken by force. So this is not new to Mexico. It is new, it would be new in modern history. I believe that Donald Trump is being so pushed by isolation by his own, by the powers in the United States, and social rejection being so evident, that wouldn't be the first time that you take part of others' territory to increase your popularity. I'm not comparing because this has nothing to do. But after Putin annexing Crimea, that I will always say now the people in Crimea are happy with that, something that won't happen if the United States takes some part of the territory of Mexico. But after that, the popularity of Putin increased. That's normal. That's the same thing that happened with Hitler, for example. When they expand the territory, people feel happy because it's like having a bigger house. So it's my conclusion, yes. I've been fearful of that. I've been not that outspoken I've been commenting that in some webinars, that I was afraid of that. But not in the major news. But in these latest days, there have been analysts speculate. I'm going to tell you something. One ex-president of Mexico, the one before this one we have now, was asked, and he said, I wouldn't rule out that, but what I do believe is that maybe Donald Trump could flirt with that idea at least. An ex-president of Mexico is already thinking that. He just said that last week. And after that, some analysts are considering that that scenario could happen. And yes, that could happen. That is the thing. It wouldn't take a lot, maybe a small part, just to increase Donald Trump's popularity. Because I believe that this guy is psychotic. And the logic of a psychotic person is not the same as a normal person. So who knows how his brain is wired? And it has been during centuries and all human history a very popular choice to invade somebody to increase popularity. That's the way it works. So, yeah, I'm going to tell you something. I don't believe the United States could be interested in invading a huge part of Mexico. No. But at least a small part, as an exchange and as a payment, yes, I see it very, very, as a way more with a way more likelihood than most people think. I believe that could happen. That is why I am so angry at this stupid president that is not getting closer to China or Russia. Because of the position of Mexico, I can tell you that Russia and China would be very interested in having influence here. Well, I don't know what the hell this guy is expecting. At least the United States need to think and to rethink something. If this guy would like to annex something as payment, to think it twice. Karina, I promise I will ban talking about Trump here one day. Why is that, Karina? Sharp sense. I never understand why Mexico should pay for the wall. If they want to build, they should do it, but paid by their own. Well, it's part of populism. It's part of being a bully. If you ask yourself why a bully should give the money, should be given money by others, there's no rational reason. There's no legal reason. It's only because it's showing off a strength. And people, some ignorant people, tend to believe that is leadership. It's a traditional way to go for populists like Hitler, Mussolini, to point out that all the problems are due to a minority. Usually the Jews are chosen that role. The Hitler, of course, blamed all the things, bad things of Germany at that time to the Jews. And this is the same thing. You are pointing out a minority as reason of the recent problems. And usually it's the biggest minority, like Mexicans. So it's just because he wanted it. The logic is this. Mexico is causing United States a lot of problems and only problems. At least in Mexico should be paying in exchange of that. But that logic is only in his mind. Because he's psycho. He's evaluating things as a sick person. That's it. People are very hesitant to accept this fact. Donald Trump has mental problems. It was not fake. These racist comments are not fake. This xenophobia is not fake. This Muslim phobia is not fake. It was real from the very beginning. I mean, you can see even his wife. All the time this poor woman looks held scared of him. His little child, I don't remember this little guy's name. when I see him, I feel very bad because I see him always scared, like scared all the time. I mean, this guy is it's really unstable. That is why the risks are real. The Muslim ban, I don't see any. If this guy believes that Mexico should pay for a stupid wall, why not to believe that a way to pay for it is invading part of the territory? I mean, it goes like makes sense for him only, of course. So yeah, I believe now it's time to call it a webinar because it's pretty much 2 hours. But I enjoyed it too much, and I believe I didn't broadcast for 2 days, so I believe this is fair. I really want to thank SharpSense for the feedback. I love to have feedback, to have a conversation. Thanks for all the comments on all your questions, and of course, Katerina, for hosting us always and tolerating me overextending myself like 1 hour. No, thanks to you, Katerina, for hosting, for recording, for everything. Thanks, SharpSense, for being around. Peter, richtig? Peter Müller, if I'm not wrong. The last time I checked your profile, I believe it was Peter Müller, right? So, well, yes, just to close the webinar, these are not intended. I'm not getting aggressive against Trump supporters. I believe that Trump supporters were the first ones manipulated by this guy. In any case that somebody is listening to this webinar recorded and is a Trump supporter, no, this is not against you. History will look back in some years and give validity to a lot of comments that are said here, not because I am saying them, because a lot of intellectuals and important cult people are seeing on this guy. I really hope for the world that the mature democracy of the United States plays the counterweights that system was built upon. It's the only way to counterweight the madness of these ideas. Banning Muslims is the first step to banning Islam in the United States. Is the first step only. And that would go against even the American Constitution. So yeah, we should have to wait a lot of more volatility in the markets. Well, I hope I am wrong, Katerina. Really, I really hope I'm wrong. But this guy really believes that Mexicans and Muslims are part of the national security risks of the United States. So God, who knows what's the next step? Gladfully, voices, civil voices, and the Congress, at least some congressmen, are being now more outspoken against this guy. So that won't facilitate for that happen. And I hope I am wrong. I would be the happiest people of being wrong on this, because I mean, if you are entering the United States as a tourist, now it's even being considered that you share your social media data, your contacts data. I mean, that is scary. But well, we will have to talk about that some other time. So in any case that you're trading Mexican peso, watch it, the volatility. But I believe that this week is going to be way clearer to trade on majors. After this gap, I believe that the markets are sending a clear signal that where more or less this is heading to. So I wouldn't rule out some important trading opportunities during the week. I will let you know in my traditional webinars or in my YouTube channel if something arises important. I will let you know there. Again, thanks a lot, SharpSense, Peter. Thanks a lot, Karina. Thanks a lot, all the guests, and see you tomorrow. So, this is Alberto Alvarado. Remember to trade safe, be safe, and bye-bye.